and reports now say that we may have that 10 civilians, as many as 10 civilians, may have been killed. Because of the urgent threat environment at the time, do preliminary assessments indicate that we may have rushed, relaxed, or waived altogether some of the normal checks and balances that we do before a strike like that?
A couple of things. One is, as we always do on all of these things, we initiate an investigation. We're reviewing all the video and all that. But having said that, what do we know, what do we don't know, what do we think, sort of thing. At the time, and I think this is still valid, we had very good intelligence that ISIS-K was preparing a specific type vehicle at a specific type location. We monitored that through various means, and all of the engagement criteria were being met. We went through the same level of rigor that we've done for years, and we took a strike. So that we did. Secondly, is we know that there were secondary explosions. Because there were secondary explosions, there's a reasonable conclusion to be made that there was explosives in that vehicle. The third thing is we know from a variety of other means that at least one of those people that were killed was an ISIS facilitator. So were there others killed? Yes, there are others killed. Who they are, we don't know. We'll try to sort through all that. But we believe that the procedures at this point, I don't want to influence the outcome of an investigation, but at this point we think that the procedures were correctly followed and it was a righteous strike.
And at this point right now, it looks like General Milley, that mentioning this drone strike is lying. Indeed. I don't know if a couple weeks ago. Hi, Ada Jet Noise. Thanks for joining me. I wish I could do these more. I have fun doing these. I love trying to inform. I love trying to find things out. I love trying to get to the bottom of things. And just bear with me as I catch my breath and try to catch a rhythm here. Ada Jet Noise, Facebook, YouTube, rumble.com. Please hit like, subscribe, and please feel free to correct me, pat me on the back, whatever. Correct me because I don't have to be right. I just have to start the conversation. That's what's important, right? That's what's important for us right now. General Milley, what they're talking about there is the drone strike that happened, was it a few weeks ago? And I really wanted to touch on this, mostly because it gave me now that Milley's back in the news, or hasn't necessarily left the news, but more in the news. We'll leave it at that. He's more in the news now because of what he may have been undermining President Trump. It looks a lot like he was undermining President Trump while President Trump was still in office. But what he was talking about there was the drone strike. The drone strike, by now, if you haven't heard, that was, okay, it happened after the 13 service members were, of course, inexplicably killed. That just did not have to happen, thanks to General Milley and what's his name, General Austin, as well as the White House, of course. Thanks to them, 13 service members are killed for no reason at all. Could have been totally avoided. But the drone strike was supposed to be some sort of retaliation. It was where it was some of us guys would say we threw our why am I afraid to say it? We threw our dick up on the table. You threw it up there so that to prove, hey, match that kind of thing, right? Pissing contest, if you will. So they hit it. They put together this drone strike, and if you haven't heard by now, and I'll connect this to to this video. I'll connect the investigative story about this to this video on Facebook. So if you want to see it, it will be in the comments on Facebook, the investigative video. And they detail it It's pretty well detailed because there's a lot of satellite pictures, a lot of CCTVs catching images, and the thing that stands out to me the most about General Milley's comments there is that he mentions that there was a secondary explosion. Let me explain. If, of course, a drone hits, it creates the round that it shoots, it's going to create its own explosion. If there is explosives in the area, that explosion is going to cause another explosion. General Milley said that there was a second explosion, when indeed the video footage that you'll see on the investigative report, again, I will touch that on Facebook, the video footage shows that there's only a hole in the ground. The hole from where the drone strike round went through the car caused the explosion, plus the drone strike went through the car, hit the ground, made a hole. The only explosion that happened was from the round, the drone round. All right? The drone ammunition. The 10 people that they're talking about killed, it sounds like up to 7 of them were children. They followed this particular car. Again, you'll see this all in the investigative report. The man left his house. They said that he also said there was an ISIS, someone that was connected to ISIS. All right. The man left his house, had to go all over town. In some cases, he was picking up co-workers. Keep in mind, this man is an aid worker. He helps get food to people that cannot get food. All right, so they're following this aid worker in his white car. He goes from, after a phone call, he goes to pick up some co-workers. They do and his boss tells him, "Can you pick up my laptop?" So then he has to go across the town one way, it goes across the town the other way. Co-workers, laptop, work. Then he goes and he picks up, they're processing the soybean is what they deal with. Soybean. So they're processing this soybean and they're getting it ready to distribute. So they go out and after they process, they distribute. I'm going to leave this more to the investigative report, so I'll try to be quick on this. They distribute this soybean, and then he has to go and he gets these water canteens. So it's a handful of water canteens, like a dozen or so water canteens. And these water canteens, he gets them back to work, and he takes them out of the car, and then he takes a garden hose, a typical garden hose, and he's filling these water canteens. There's different types of water canteens. You'll see it in the video. He's filling these water canteens, and then he loads them in his car. All right, so now they're doing things in reverse. He's taking he's picking up his boss or something along that lines and their laptops. And he takes some coworkers home. And then he's like his boss and him and some other guy. They all have their laptops in bags. His boss has it's like in a plastic shopping bag, his laptop in there. So that's what you can tell what these guys are. These guys aren't business guys. These guys are everyday guys trying to get it done in their country. So they're following this guy all day with satellites and CCTVs and so-called communiques, and they find out that where this guy ends up at, which is where he stays with his family, and the car's parked outside of where in his courtyard, if you will, and he eventually gets someone else to move his car into the courtyard. And it looks like their gate looks like the doors, like in a container truck. So, boom, they close that. It looks like he's done for the day. They've done everything they had to do. So he's home. He's home, and boom. They strike. They say that this, you heard Milley there say that this guy's connected to ISIS. If there was someone there that was connected to ISIS, they don't have any evidence of that. It indeed looks like a very innocent man who helped his people in Afghanistan was murdered by a United States drone. That is what General Milley, is trying to say was a justified killing. General Milley just lied in that video. And then there's the Bagram thing. Let me show you this video on Bagram. If you don't know what Bagram is, Bagram was one of the two airports, but the key airport that the United States was using. They have a lot of their military equipment at Bagram, vehicles, and they left all those things there. Now, I did see some video of much of that. Much of it being at least destroyed, making it non-serviceable as far as when it comes to the helicopters, probably some of the like tanks or what have you. So I did see some of the military destroying, taking hammers to it, ripping things up, blah, blah, blah. But it was all left there at Bagram, at that airport. I want you to hear specifically how, when General Milley was asked, should they have given up Bagram, or was it a good idea? This is the response he gave at the Capitol.
At all possible to keep Bagram Air Force Base?
Could I make a comment, Secretary? So a couple of quick comments here. On Bagram. Bagram is not necessary tactically or operationally for what we're going to try to do here with Afghanistan. Consolidate on Kabul in support of their government. But to back up a little bit on the momentum of the Taliban, so to speak, there's 81 district centers that are currently, we think, are underneath Taliban control. That's out of 419 district centers. There's no provincial capital that is underneath Taliban control, and there's 34 of those. It is true that the Taliban are sniping at and picking off outposts, et cetera, and they have seized some district centers. 60% of the 81 were seized last year, and the others since the last 2 months or so. So yes, we're concerned, we're watching it, but there's a 300,000 plus or minus military force, Afghanistan Army and police force, and it is their job to defend their country. We're going to continue to, we're having a new relationship.
Again, I do apologize. Gentleman's time has expired.
I will. I owe you a better answer, and I'll get you one in writing.
Okay. First of all, he went on and on and on, which of course ate up time. No real answer. He did say, you heard him say at the very beginning, that there was no real tactical purpose for Bagram. Billions of dollars of United States equipment sitting on the Bagram airport, and there was no tactical purpose to hold on to Bagram. Instead, they used the airport in Kabul to take people out, just barely take people out. That was it. That in and of itself was its own debacle. We've talked about that before. We're going to talk about it a whole lot more in the future. This is arguably the worst the worst foreign this is the worst thing we've ever done as far as foreign policy is concerned. It's disgusting. It's embarrassing. I have no problem saying that much of it was illegal, and it's definitely immoral. So, giving up Bagram with all that United States, a lot of F-150s are there, helicopters, Blackhawks. I don't know, maybe Apaches. I'm assuming, but military I should say, guns, rounds, all that stuff there. They just left it there. And again, like I've seen some of the stuff was put out of commission. Although I did see them flying, the Taliban flying people around. They took them on a little trip. Like they would hang them by their neck, and then fly them over the city. As a little, or they tie them to the landing gear of the helicopter. And if they slipped off, well, nothing they can do about it. I mean, they did what they were supposed to do: tie the guy to the landing gear, right? So some of the stuff is working. Meanwhile, keep in mind, Milley just said that there's no tactical purpose to hold on to Bagram Airport. China is now in Bagram Airport. China has now kind of commissioned for itself the Bagram Airport thing. Excuse me as I adjust my lights here. The interesting thing about that is it seems like if our military says that there's no tactical purpose for the Bagram Airport to be held down, it seems like we would be just handing things over to China. I don't think that's too far-fetched, right? It's not too far-fetched to say that we would be. Thank you, lights. It's not too far-fetched to say that it could have very well been done on purpose. That our military equipment is now in the hands of communist China. I don't know. Maybe they want to study it. Maybe they can use it. Maybe they can advance something. Maybe they feel short on something, and now they can advance. It's just funny because China's going to move in. See what China has done to Africa. Look at what China has done to Africa. And tell me, why wouldn't they move into Afghanistan? It's a country that has no actual government. It's just thug run. Why wouldn't somebody that's at least as organized as China just kind of move in and kind of take things over? Hence the Bagram Airport. Enough about that. Let's talk about Milley and China some more. General Milley denies undermining Trump command and calls to China. Biden refuses to fire him. If you haven't heard by now, a Woodward book, from the Woodward and remember the team of Woodward and Bernstein, a Bob Woodward book is told, who was no fan of Donald Trump, of course, who is pretty much patting General Milley on the back. General Milley had admitted, or at least told Bob Woodward, for this book, that he would not necessarily go with what Trump's ideas were. And at one point, 2 points, he calls his Chinese counterpart, general in China, his Chinese counterpart, and he tells him that he would let the Chinese know, General Milley would let the Chinese know ahead of time if Trump was planning to strike China. There is absolutely no evidence that was ever going to happen. None. No matter how much the media would try to tell you that Trump was crazy or that he was unhinged or what have you, there was none. None. People tried to, when he took out Soleimani, when Trump ordered to take out Soleimani, that was going to start a war. It was not going to start a war. Iran was in no position to start a war with the United States if they took out one of their top guys. Their top guy. When he took him out, the first thing people said, or I remember the short video where it says Trump didn't want to get into a war. It's because he didn't want to. And he didn't. And taking out Soleimani was a very, very precise action from beginning to end. From beginning to where the explosions, for the explosion, when the drone, when he was struck. Of course, again, the internet went ballistic on that short video where Trump said he didn't want to get into war, and there was no war. It was a precisely planned, well-executed strike. Now, to say that he would get into a war with China, of all countries, is bizarre. A physical war, a military-style war with China. We're going to send nukes to China is ridiculous. It would have never happened. But meanwhile, Milley is telling his guys, his buddy in China, that, hey, man, I'll let you know if something's happening. That type of thing. To undermine the president that way, to undermine the country. To tip off an enemy about a strike is you hate to use the word, but it is indeed treasonous. And you hate to use the word treasonous because treasonous is the only crime listed in the Constitution, and the penalty is indeed death. So, we walk on eggshells when we use the word treason, man, but it sure sounds like treason. Milley says, General Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, denied a report that he undermined former President Donald Trump's command and President Joe Biden through his support behind the nation's top military leader. Milley faced calls for his resignation after reporting a new book claimed that he had called his military counterpart in China to reassure them after after January 6th riots. I think it was January 8th is when he made the call at the U.S. Capitol, and to say he would warn them if there was a surprise attack. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff regularly communicates with chiefs of defense across the world, including with China and Russia. These conversations remain viral to improving mutual understanding of the United States national security interests, reducing tensions, providing clarity, and avoiding unintended consequences or conflicts. His calls with the Chinese, and this is a quote from someone, his calls with the Chinese and others in October and January were in keeping with these duties and responsibilities, conveying reassurance in the order to maintain strategic stability. All calls from the chairman to his counterparts, including those reported, are staffed, coordinated, and communicated with the Department of Defense and interagencies. Let me carry on in this. Among those voices calling for Milley's immediate firing were Republican Senator Marco Rubio, who said these actions by General Milley demonstrate clear lack of sound judgment and I urge you to dismiss him immediately. If indeed, now he's denying this. I don't know if he's puffing out his chest. I do know that at one point, General Milley has done things like when talking to Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi is far more important to this story than, as far as the undermining is concerned, than General Milley. She got into the head of General Milley. I don't know what his position was with Trump before this, but it turned ugly when after he talked to Nancy Pelosi. And of course, Nancy Pelosi, being the darling that she is, filled General Milley's head with all the knowledge she has on Donald Trump. And we know that can't be anything but positive. And General Milley specifically told Nancy Pelosi that he agrees with her wholeheartedly. He said that. Now, just imagining what Nancy Pelosi was trying to coordinate with General Milley and the military, for him to agree wholeheartedly with Nancy doesn't necessarily sound like a very loyal military man. I mean, to me, it doesn't. It doesn't sound like that at all. Woodward and Costa, that's the other gentleman that wrote the book, write that after the call with Pelosi, Milley decided he had to act and told the military service chiefs and then CIA director to watch everything at all times. They wrote, Milley was overseeing the mobilization of America's national security state without the knowledge of the American people or the rest of the world. Some might contend that Milley had overstepped his authority and taken extraordinary power for himself. Do you think? Let me give you just a short picture, just a small picture of who General Milley believes he is. General Milley demanded total loyalty to him. General Milley demanded total loyalty to General Milley from the military command, and not to the president. He even made each commander take an oath to him. General Milley had commanders take an oath to General Milley. During the secret meeting on January 8th, Milley instructed senior military officials in charge of National Military Command Center to not take orders from anyone unless he was involved. No matter what you are told, you do the procedure, you do the process, and I'm part of the procedure. Quote from General Milley. Got it? Another quote. Yes, sir. Milley considered it an oath. This is a violation of his own oath. His bizarre reaction to Chinese propaganda was to violate Constitution and demand the military remain loyal to him, not to the president. General Milley, I genuinely believe, is the most dangerous thing that can happen to the United States military at this time. General Milley, his head has been twisted. I won't dare say Nancy Pelosi, I will confidently say Nancy Pelosi has much to do with it. General Milley indeed needs to be removed and should face some sort of court-martial. I don't think it would be hard to convince anybody of that at all. Ada Jet Noise, ADA Jet Noise on Rumble.com, on YouTube.com, on Facebook.com. Like I said, I will post, or I should say, I'll put that in the comments, the report, the investigative report about the gentleman that was killed in Afghanistan. The innocent, apparently, I'm going to go with 95% confidence that this man was indeed innocent. There was no evidence that has been put forward. In fact, the United States, Jen Psaki, General Milley, Joe Biden, you name it. No one has talked about it since the investigative report has come out. They've completely ignored it. This man is dead. An innocent man was killed by the United States just so we could puff out our chest. Or so the White House can puff out their chest and say we got it all handled. When indeed, they absolutely do not. We're just making it worse. And there's so many more ugly stories to come out about what went on in Afghanistan. Stay tuned. ADA Jet Noise. Ada Jet Noise, thanks for joining me. Hopefully I'll see you again soon. Until then, big hug, be good, be still. Enjoy your life.